Hey, Casibang's crew, welcome back from winter break. I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday and is rested and ready to go. So this is the 5th video for our sensation and perception unit, and we are going to talk about all the other senses. So we've done hearing and we've done sight, and now we're going to talk about the last 3 senses today. So let's get going. The first set that we're going to do are the somaesthetic senses. So somaesthetic are our body senses. So it makes up our skin senses, so pain, pressure, touch, the kinesthetic sense, and the vestibular sense. And they're called somaesthetic senses because remember when we talked about the nerve in the last unit, soma means body, okay, and aesthetic is feeling. Okay, so these are literally our body feelings. The first set of somaesthetic senses are our skin senses. So our sense of touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. And these sensory receptors are in our skin, which is the largest sensory organ that we have. Okay, remember your skin covers every part of your body. So it is the largest organ in the human body. Here's an image. I can't remember if it's from your textbook or if it's from a different textbook, but it's a really cool cross-section of the skin, and it just kind of shows you everything that's happening in your skin. It's a pretty amazing organ, and we sort of take it for granted a lot. So there's a couple of different layers of skin. You see that here, the different layers. And then fat layers down here as well. There's a couple of different sets of nerves. So here are the pressure sensitive nerves, and then these are pain sensitive and touch sensitive nerves here. We do have hair growth in our skin, as well as sweat glands that help us to cool off. And then of course the blood vessels that run within our skin. So there's a lot that's happening in our skin. So our sense of touch, our touch receptors code 4 different sensations for us. It codes pain, it codes pressure, warmth, and cold. Okay, so the process of our sense of touch, our skin receptors receive information. That information is then relayed to the spinal cord. Which type of neuron? Okay, review from Unit 5. Which type of neuron relays information to the spinal cord? We'll get back to that in a second. And then finally, the spinal cord sends information to the somatosensory cortex. So another review. Which lobe of the cortex is our somatosensory cortex located in? All right, and our sense of pain. Okay, pain receptors are located throughout all of our body structures. Okay, all of our body structures. So skin, ligaments, our organs, our muscles, and our joints. Pain is more acute, which just means you feel it more strongly when nerve endings are densely packed. So think of your fingertips. So if you give yourself a paper cut, or you stab yourself with a pencil in your finger and it hurts really, 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 really bad. It's because your nerve endings are more densely packed in your fingertips. That's why you feel the pain a lot stronger in those areas. So there is a theory on how we feel or experience pain, and that theory is called the gate control theory. So this theory says that there is a literal gate in our spinal cord that opens and allows pain messages to reach our brain, and closes so that those pain messages don't reach our brain. So obviously if the gate is open and those messages are going right up to our brain, then we are experiencing the pain. We are feeling it. If the gate closes, those messages are blocked. Okay, and they cannot get up to our brain, and then we are not feeling the pain as acutely. Our brain, as we already learned, our brain plays a critical role because it helps to release endorphins. And remember, endorphins are the neurotransmitter that helps us to feel and control pain. When the endorphins lock into a pain receptor site, so let's say your paper cut on your finger, so the pain receptor in your skin, okay, sends that message up to the brain, and the brain releases the endorphins, and it sends the endorphins to that pain receptor site in your skin, in your finger. And it takes that site in the spinal cord and closes that pain gate. That prevents, when the gate is closed, that prevents the messages from reaching the brain. All right, so the second somesthetic sense is our kinesthetic sense. We're about to have two confusing pairs, so make sure that you pay attention, circle it, highlight it, put a star next to it, whatever you've been doing for confusing pairs. The first of the confusing pairs is the kinesthetic sense. So this is the sense of the location of body parts in relation to the ground and in relation to each other. And we'll do a demonstration of this in class tomorrow when you come into class. Basically, this is just relaying that your brain knows where your body parts are at any given time. So if you're sitting in a chair right now and you have an itch on your foot, you don't have to look at your foot to be able to reach down and scratch it. You know where your foot is and you know where that itch is without having to actually physically see it. That's your kinesthetic sense. And we'll do a couple of other demonstrations that show this as well. So the second part of that confusing pair is your vestibular sense. So the vestibular senses I introduced really briefly when we were talking about the ear. Remember, I talked about the semicircular canals that are in your ear and the fluid that's in your semicircular canals. This helps with your vestibular sense. So this is our sense of movement, our sense of balance, and our body position. As in, is my head straight up and down? Is it laying down if we're laying on the couch? Is it upside down if we're doing gymnastics or something like that? Okay, so that's what they mean by body position. Where is your body in relation to your head, in relation to, it being straight up and down? So your kinesthetic sense relies on those receptor cells in your muscles and in your joints. So if you've ever laid on your leg or sat down on the couch and sat with your leg crossed up underneath you and your leg falls asleep or your foot falls asleep, that is a disruption of the kinesthetic sense. Okay, so the information from your muscles and joints isn't getting through to your brain. Neither is the blood flow in that particular organ. So that sensation of falling asleep, that sensation of it being numb or you not being able to feel it anymore is disrupting our kinesthetic sense in our brain. So try and do this, okay? Just write on your desk or on your book or something hard. I want you to put your hand down on the table. I want you to stretch out all of your fingers except for your middle finger. And I want you to tuck that middle finger up underneath your hand. I want you to make sure that your fingers are touching the top of the desk or the book or table, whatever you have your hand on, and that your palm by your wrist is touching the table. Now, I want you to try and wiggle your fingers, okay? Wiggle them around, lift them up. Can you do it? Okay? So, can you lift up your middle finger, your ring finger, okay? Your ring finger, not the one that's curled under, but your ring finger. Are you able to lift it up? Okay, why or why not? And we'll talk about this a little bit in class tomorrow. We'll do this demonstration again in class. But your middle finger and your ring finger share the same tendon. So while your middle finger is curled under like that, it makes it really difficult for your ring finger to raise. Now, I can do it on one hand, but I can't do it on the other, so I don't know what that means. Maybe that tendon is stretched, and I've always encountered students that are a couple here and there that are able to move their finger, but for the most part, you won't be able to move your finger. All right, so your vestibular sense. So this is sensing your body's orientation and balance. So by orientation, do we mean, are you standing? Are you sitting? Are you laying down? Are you upside down? Are you spinning in circles? That's what we mean by orientation. The vestibular sense monitors your head and body position and responds to changes in gravity, motion, and body position. The equilibrium that's produced in the inner ear in your semicircular canals, okay, this fluid moves when our head rotates or tilts or is upside down. And that helps to tell our brain what position our body is in. The hair-like receptors inside the semicircular canals are stimulated by this movement, and they send messages to the brain. Say, oh, they're upside down, or they're spinning in circles, or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here for you again. Remember, these here are the semicircular canals. Okay, these are the semicircular canals that we are talking about in our ear diagram. Okay, so that's it for the somaesthetic senses. Now on to taste. Our sense of taste. We are able to taste sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. Recently, we've added umami in, which is just like a savory kind of taste. We do this through our taste buds, which are on our tongue. Okay, everyone has these taste buds, and they do regenerate on a regular basis. Because our sense of taste is through the taste buds, we call it a chemical sense. Okay, underline that. It's important that you remember that our sense of taste is considered a chemical sensation. So this little graph over here kind of tells you survival functions of our basic tastes. So sweet is usually indicative of an energy source. Salty, sodium, that's essential to our body. You have to have a certain amount of sodium or salt in your body. Sour is potentially toxic. Bitter is also potentially poisonous. And then umami are proteins that help to grow and repair our tissues. So even back in, caveman days, before they understood our senses and understood that we had all of these different tastes, they understood that they generally looked for things that tasted sweet when they needed more energy, right? Or salt when they needed sodium in their bodies, or umami when they needed to repair tissues. Okay. Age and taste. As we age, which is a reoccurring theme that we'll talk about here, but as we age, our sense of taste decreases. Okay. There's always, I always kind of laugh at teenagers that love, like the super sour candies, like the Sour Patch Kids and those kind of things. As you get older, you really don't want to eat those really super sour things. You might not want to eat anything that's really, really super spicy. You tend to prefer more bland type of things as you age, just because your taste buds change and they don't regenerate as well as they do when you are a younger person. All right, our sense of smell is called olfaction. Okay, olfaction. Our sense of smell is also a chemical sense, just like our sense of taste. And it is, we are enabled to smell through odor molecules, our olfactory bulb, okay, and then our olfactory nerve, which we talked about already when we diagrammed the brain, okay. But here is a cross-section. Here's our nose. Okay, and here's where we're processing smell, okay, and it is right near our memory area. So if you ever have a smell memory where you go and, maybe you're in the mall and someone passes by and they have a perfume and you instantly think of like your grandmother's house because that was the perfume your grandmother wore, okay, so those are smell memories. So if you have smell memories, this is why. It's because where our smell is processed here in the brain is very close to where our memories are processed as well. So here is just a quick graphic on how we process the sense of smell. So we're smelling a rose here, and there's very minute, you can't even see them, odor molecules that enter your nose, and the receptor cells in your olfactory membrane capture them, and they capture the chemical sense. Okay, here's our olfactory bulb right here, kind of right behind our eyes on top of our nasal cavity, and that olfactory nerve. Okay, so everything is really super close together. So here, okay, air with the odor molecule, okay, it goes into these olfactory receptor cells, okay. It is activated and sent as an electrical signal right here to our olfactory bulb, okay? And then that signal is sent to the higher regions of the brain. Really super similar to the diagram of the retina, just not as many different levels that it has to go through, okay? So again, just like with everything else, our sense of sight decreases as we age. Our sense of hearing can decrease as we age. We do a lot of damage to it. Our sense of taste decreases as we age. So does our sense of smell. Women and young adults tend to have the best sense of smell, okay, with women's sense of smell peaking around the ages 40 to 49. And then it does slowly decrease after that. And the same with men, okay? The sense of smell for men peaks around 30 to 39, and then you see the same decrease. So a common theme with our senses that as we age, those senses seem to decrease. They're just not as strong as they are when we are young adults and adults. Alrighty, and that is it for those other senses. It was really quick. Please make sure that you write down any questions that you might have. We will go over this in class tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.